In 1660, the English monarchy was restored after 11 years of republican rule. This moment, known simply as the Restoration, marked the return of Charles II, son of the executed Charles I, to the throne of England. Charles was witty, charming, politically skillful, and eager to move England beyond the austerity and moral strictness of Cromwell's Puritan regime. The Restoration created a refreshing new tone in national life. The Restoration essentially returned England to the status quo of 1642, as a hereditary monarch was once again restored to the throne and there was no legal requirement for the king to call Parliament on a regular basis. At the same time, the Church of England, with its episcopal structure and the Book of Common Prayer, resumed its role as the official state church. Charles favoured a general policy of religious toleration. Long before the Restoration, he had expressed a desire to allow Protestants outside the Church of England, as well as Roman Catholics, to worship freely, provided they remained loyal to the crown. But this put him at odds with Parliament. Parliament in the early Restoration years was dominated by ultra-royalist Anglicans who firmly believed that patriotism and Anglicanism were inseparable. They opposed the king's efforts at toleration. Between 1661 and 1665, Parliament enacted a series of measures known as the Clarendon Code, which excluded Catholics, Presbyterians, and independents from political and religious life. These laws also punished attendance at non-Anglican religious services, enforced strict use of the Book of Common Prayer, and required all local officials to swear loyalty to the Church of England. Together, they ensured that only Anglicans exercised meaningful civil authority in the restored monarchy. Although Parliament supported the monarchy, it did not provide Charles with sufficient revenue as he required far more money than it was willing to grant. To make up the shortfall, Charles relied on customs duties and financial assistance from foreign allies, particularly France. At the time, both England and France were at war with Holland, and in 1670 they formalised their alliance through the Treaty of Dover. A secret provision of the treaty stated that Charles II pledged to announce his conversion to Catholicism when circumstances permitted, and in return, Louis XIV would grant him a substantial annual subsidy. Although Charles never made this announcement and likely never intended to, the promise helped secure the alliance with France. To demonstrate goodwill toward Louis and build support for the war against Holland, Charles issued the Declaration of Indulgence in 1672, which suspended all penal laws against Catholics and Protestant dissenters. However, Parliament refused to grant funds for the war unless Charles rescinded the measure. He reluctantly withdrew it, after which Parliament passed the Test Act, 1673. The Test Act required all civil and military officials to swear an oath denying the doctrine of transubstantiation. Because no sincere Roman Catholic could take this oath, the Act effectively excluded Catholics from public office. This legislation also targeted the king's brother, James, Duke of York, who had recently converted to Catholicism and was heir to the throne. In 1678, an infamous liar named Titus Oates claimed before a magistrate that the king's Catholic wife, Queen Catherine of Braganza, was plotting with Jesuits and Irish Catholics to kill Charles so that James could take the throne. Parliament believed the false story, triggering the hysterical period known as the Popish Plot. Several innocent people were executed on fabricated charges. Riding the wave of anti-Catholic hysteria, a faction in Parliament led by the Earl of Shaftesbury, known as the Whigs, attempted to pass legislation excluding James from the line of succession. The effort ultimately failed, but the political division between Whigs and Tories would become a permanent feature of English politics. Suspicious of Parliament's intentions, Charles relied more heavily on customs duties, accepted additional subsidies from Louis, and ruled without calling Parliament from 1681 to 1685. During these years, Charles drove the Earl of Shaftesbury into exile, executed several Whig leaders on charges of treason, and pressured municipal governments to elect more compliant members of Parliament. By the time he died in 1685, he left the throne to his brother James II, with a Parliament now largely packed with royalist allies.